The transfer window is open, and with one major departure already in Marco Correa, Chelsea are already starting to identify potential replacements. As far as left-backs go, so far Chelsea are looking at Maxi Aruajo, Andreas Cambiaso and Lewis Hall. Chelsea are also still looking at Maxence Lacroix of Crystal Palace to reinforce the centre-back position. Cagliari's Marco Palestra has also supposedly been a target for the right-back spot, but supposedly he wants to stay in Italy. At Real Madrid, Jose Mourinho has okayed the departure of a young, talented left-back, so potentially we could be in for him as well. And can we just take a minute to talk about what is going on at Tottenham? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, it's transfers, it's left-backs, it's centre-backs, it's what's going on at Tottenham and why are they getting all these players. So let's get straight into it. Chelsea Dodgers reposted this via Record Portugal. Maxi Aruajo is on Chelsea's list, and they have opened the door for him following Marco Correa's sale. Chelsea are beginning to search and may take the next step to try and understand what conditions are necessary in the next few weeks for Araujo. So, I released a video yesterday, which was 6 potential left-backs that we could be looking at with Marco Correa's departure, and Maxi Aruajo was on this list. Now, there are massive pros and cons with this guy, basically. So he's got 3 years left on his deal. He's 26 years old and he's had a really good season. 13 goals and assists across the Portuguese League and the Champions League. He defends really well. He looks like he could be versatile enough to play the left back or the wing back if we play a back 3 as well, especially with all of that fantastic output. So when you just look at the player profile, you're like, okay, cool. He's experienced. He's got Champions League experience. He's not a child. He can score goals. He can get assists. He can defend. 115 tackles last season in all competitions. That's absolutely amazing. What is worrying about Maxi Aruajo is his disciplinary record. He got 13 yellow cards last season and 2 reds. In a time where we are looking to desperately improve the discipline record of our squad, with us matching or beating, I can't remember exactly, but we either matched or beat the red card record in a season in the Premier League last year. People getting sent off all over the gaff. Now, there's a lot of interesting conversations to be had about that. A lot of people are saying, almost all of the decisions were unfair. Okay, maybe that will be. And obviously, there's the juxtaposition of Arsenal didn't get a single penalty awarded or much in the way of players sent off during their title winning season either. So luck definitely has something to do with it, 100%. But when you're getting 7, 8 red cards in a season, that can't just be luck. I'm sorry. I get, you can hyperanalyze every single individual situation. Mistakes are always going to be made. But you can't break records like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like you might have got 1, 2, or even 3 unlucky red cards throughout a season, but to get as many as we did across all competitions, there is a discipline issue in there. 100% there is, and that's just something we need to analyse. Now, that's why the only real reason for me that Maxi Aruajo is a little bit of a worrying option. As far as being just a player goes, I think he looks great. Like I say, his output's absolutely phenomenal. 13 GA, which matches his yellow card tally, which is actually quite interesting. 115 tackles across all competitions. He's obviously boisterous and he's aggressive, and we're going to need a bit of that. We had a bit of that with Marco Correa, to be completely honest. He just didn't get sent off very often, right? So yeah, I really like Maxi Aruajo as a player. Now, what it will be is they will identify this issue, right? They're not just going to bring him in and be like, oh no, it'll probably be fine. Xabi Alonso will probably try and identify if that's something he can work out of Maxi Araujo's game. And you would have thought if we go in for him, then that is because the manager has signed off on it. A lot of us would like to see Grimaldo, a lot of us would like to see Lewis Hall. A lot of you guys are actually keen not to buy anyone and just to give these opportunities to people like Giovanni Quenda and Pedro Neto. But that is without the question being asked, do these guys want to play wing back at the end of the day? So it's not just as simple as that, unfortunately. For instance, with Giovanni Quenda, there was some conversation had quite recently about the reason that he joined Chelsea over Manchester United in the first place was because he didn't want to follow Amorim to Man United and end up playing loads of wing back. He wanted to be an attacking midfielder or a winger. So Maxi Aruajo, look, he looks good, man. He looks good. I'm not going to lie to you. As far as the player profile goes, I think he looks wicked, but it's just one of those, isn't it? Is it too risky to bring quite a hot player in terms of getting yellows and red cards across the season into the squad in a time we're desperately trying to fix our disciplinary situation? Let me know what you think in the comments. Just had to take a quick little break there because I noticed I had some light bleed on my green screen and things were looking a bit weird, but I fixed it. So, guys, if you are enjoying today's episode of the Stamford Sync, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. And 17 days after the Stamford Sync's 1-year anniversary, it is in fact my 37-year anniversary. It's my birthday today. I'm 37 years old. And I'm feeling a little bit old, so guys, give me some love in the comments. Nice one. Right, so moving on, and Simon Jones from the Daily Mail has given us a little bit of information pertaining to Maxence Lacroix. Chelsea Dodgers reposted this via Simon Jones of the Daily Mail. Chelsea have added Crystal Palace centre-back Maxence Lacroix to their list of potential targets this summer. So, look, with Tottenham, who we're going to get into later, going all in for Van Heck, although it's not, it's not happened yet. He was the guy that I wanted, really. We need a right-footed centre-back. Maxence Lacroix is probably the next best Premier League option that I think could come in and seriously upgrade the team. He's 26 years old, so again, same as Maxi Aruajo, like a good age. Not necessarily in the prime of his career. We'd still get a good few years out of him. He's won 3 trophies, 2 major trophies and 1 small trophy with Crystal Palace in the last 3 seasons. He's been an absolutely phenomenal player for them. He's astute, he's experienced. He's a tough and resolute defender, and he's an instant upgrade on Benoit Badiashile, Wesley Fofana, Tyson Adarabioyo, all of the many millions of centre-backs that we've got on our books at the moment, some of which are clearly going to leave the squad in the summer. For me, a back 2, like if we're going for a 2 at the back, Levi Colwill, Maxence Lacroix. Love that, big fan. In a back 3, him on the right, interchanging with the likes of Reece James, Josh Achiampong. Like there's definitely loads of really good permutations that we could have if we add someone with that kind of quality and experience to our squad, and it's the kind of signing I think we desperately need. He hasn't got a huge amount of time left on his deal. I don't think we're going to be looking at 70, 80 mil like Van Heck is looking like he's going to cost Tottenham. But at the same time, I think he looks like a great centre-back. And at this point, I think we just need to go out and get him. Let me know what you think in the comments. Transfer News Live posted this via Team Talk. It is about Lewis Hall. Chelsea are exploring the possibility of re-signing Lewis Hall from Newcastle United this summer. The Blues are assessing whether a deal can be completed as they continue their search for a potential replacement for Marco Correa. Manchester United are also interested in Hall, setting up a possible battle for the Newcastle fullback signature. So, I've got a feeling that Manchester United are not going to want to get drawn into a battle, because one of the issues that United have had is they've done this a few times before and they spent huge amounts of money on players, haven't they? Like, Luke Shaw for 30 mil at the time was crazy money because he was really, really young when they bought him. Also, vis-a-vis Man United, supposedly they're also looking at Anthony Robinson from Fulham, who's a bit more of an experienced player. So, look, Lewis Hall would obviously be a good shout, and I talked about this a lot in my left-back video yesterday. He had a good season. He's a good defender. Not a huge amount of output, and largely obviously played at left back. One thing he's very good at is not getting dribbled past. He can get a couple of goals. He can get a couple of assists. He's got a bit of Champions League experience. He's 21 years old. My only sort of potential issue with that is in terms of the age profile, right? Is I feel like it makes more sense to go for an experienced left back right now. Because we've still got so much figuring out to do with the squad, right? Like, are we going to play a back 3 or a back 4? If we play a back 4, Youro Hato seemed primed for that left back role eventually to take over. But at the same time, I don't think it's the right time just to say to Youro Hato, you're the guy now, and then we go and get someone even younger than him as a deputy, right? I think the best thing we could do right now is get a relatively older and experienced left back, which gives Youro Hato another season or 2 without the pressure of being the first team guy to develop into the first team guy, right? Because you've got to think Youro Hato is 20 years old now, and look how well he's been playing for us at left centre back and at left back. When he's 23, could be a world beater, but if he carries on going the same way that he is. So the problem with that is if we do get a Lewis Hall in, then all of a sudden you're not necessarily giving Youro Hato that pathway to develop. You're instantly going, right, Lewis Hall is 21 years old and we're going to have him for the next 5 years minimum. And then Youro Hato all of a sudden gets rotational options at the left back if he is in a back 4 and can still play centre back as well. So either way, Youro Hato is going to be useful, don't get me wrong. I just think that I really like Lewis Hall as well. Like, I would not be unhappy if we signed him at all. Like, I think he looks like a great player. But at the same time, he's the only really young one we're looking at, which I also think is interesting. All of the other targets that we're talking about today are 25 plus, 26 plus, that kind of thing. And that profile makes more sense to me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Right, another left back. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Glongari. Chelsea are exploring a potential move for Juventus Andreas Cambiaso, especially after the sale of Marco Correa. Barca is his first choice and Inter are also monitoring. So, Cambiaso looks like a really good player. Very similar to Maxi Aruajo in a lot of ways. He's 26. He's got 3 years left on his deal. I imagine it would be that same sort of 40, 50, 50 mil maybe. These are the kind of players, Maxi Aruajo and Cambiaso, that will be reinvesting almost all, if not a little bit more, of the Marco Correa money, essentially. Cambiaso had a good season in Juventus last year. his output was lower than Maxi Araujo's, albeit that, the context of the different leagues and stuff, like, it's impossible just to say this guy had better stats than this guy. So, but at the same time, Maxi Araujo, even just in his tackles, his passing, like everything, was kind of a little bit better than Cambiaso. And also, supposedly, Cambiaso wants to go to Barca, which is not a huge surprise at the end of the day, especially now with Marco Correa going to Real Madrid, because it looked like Correa was a target for Barca as well. But also said he'd like to stay in Italy. So if Inter Milan do come in for him, then it's one of those, isn't it? So I wasn't exactly enamoured with Cambiaso's stats. And like I say, if you want to check those out, go and watch yesterday's video if you haven't already. He's obviously looks like a good player, don't get me wrong. But out of the choices that I looked at yesterday and the choices we're looking at the moment, the top two for me would be Maxi Aruajo or Grimaldo. Grimaldo, there's actually no news about at the moment, to be completely honest. That just seems like it's one of those, isn't it? We've got a manager, therefore we're linked to all of his old players, or all of us think about that. I do think that Grimaldo in the in the three at the back formation would work really, really well. But if we do kind of want to experiment with the four at the back, then Cambiaso or an Araujo would be better. Cambiaso's discipline record is much, much better than Araujo's, but the potential for Araujo's output, bearing in mind that he did well in the Champions League as well, that's the one for me at the moment. But guys, let me know what you think about Cambiaso in the comments. Right, so take a quick break from left backs. I'm going to talk about a right back. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Di Marzio, which is a big Italian sports outlet, kind of like L'Equipe in France. Chelsea have inquired with Marco Palestra's entourage, but the fullback wants to stay in Italy. The Italians love staying in Italy, don't they? It's just a thing. Like, and I'm not gonna lie to you, the weather's good, the food's really, really good, the culture's a little bit different. Italy's a beautiful country for sure. So Palestra looks amazing. He's 21 years old, right back for Cagliari, reasonable attacking output, and obviously with our situation at the moment, I'm not surprised that we are starting to tersely, lightly be linked with right back options, because if we play at the three at the back, Reece James isn't playing that right wing back role. It's not going to happen. A lot of people talking about Giovanni Quenda and Pedro Neto. It does make sense again. Like, these wingers in Xabi Alonso's wing back role does make sense. But the only two things I'm concerned about in vis-a-vis these kind of options that we already have are A, do they want to play wing back? Because a lot of wingers won't love the idea of playing wing back, to be completely honest. It's rare you get a Jeremy Frimpong or a Victor Moses and a player that's just like, yeah, cool, I'll play wing back. But there is the thing in there, looking at the GA output of Xabi Alonso's wing backs was absolutely incredible, but it's not necessarily the dream job for every winger to become a wing back at the end of the day. So I don't think it's just as simple as saying you play wing back now, because, players might not want to. Like I said before with Quenda, he didn't go to Man United and chose Chelsea because he didn't want to play as a wing back. So you've got to consider these kind of things. The other thing, for the right side in particular, inverted wing backs. I don't see a huge amount of it, to be completely honest, and I'm struggling in my head to think of a really successful team that played with three at the back and had an inverted wing back one way or the other. I know it's an option and I know it can work, but as in Xabi Alonso's, it was, Grimaldo was left-footed on the left side, Frimpong was right-footed on the right side. For us, with Antonio Conte, Victor Moses right-footed on the right side, Marcos Alonso left-footed on the left side, because the width is quicker, right? So, if you're not super confident crossing with your right foot, for instance, you've got to turn around at the end of the day, and you can lose precious seconds in those moments. And Xabi Alonso likes a high press, and he likes to push up on the attack. Do you know what I mean? So it's maybe a small thing, and let's have a chat about it in the comments. But I don't necessarily think an inverted wing back works. Well, maybe it does. Like, I might be missing a huge example here. Like I say, really let me know if you can think of one. But in my kind of brain, every time that a team plays three at the back and does really well, their wing backs aren't inverted. So that's just off the top of my head. So like I say, I could well be wrong about that. But anyway, Marco Palestra looks like a really, really good young talent. He would certainly be an upgrade on Malo Gusto, especially in terms of output. He's still really young, so that kind of fits the Blueco model. But apparently he wants to stay in Italy. But either way, we are inquiring for him. Let me know what you think. Right, next up, it's time to talk about Kendry Paez again. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Hernan Calisto. River Plate have cancelled the Kendry Paez loan. He will leave and go back to Chelsea. So obviously he's away at the moment with Ecuador at the World Cup. This could be really, really important for him. Like, if he has a good World Cup, maybe we can get him another loan, but it's really starting to look like we've got an issue with Kendry Paez here. And it largely seems to be attitude-based as well. He's so young. There's obviously talent there, but since we bought him, he's been on loan now at two different clubs, and it's just not working for him. It's just not working for him. He had a couple, like literally 2 or 3 really good outings at Strasbourg, but failed to break into the first team on a regular basis. He obviously got recalled when Liam Rosenior came back to Chelsea, and then we sent him to River Plate, which you would assume he would have had a good time at, but absolutely not. Like, they've cancelled his loan. He was supposed to be there until the end of 2026. So we were looking to get him back in January, but it's not happening. I'd be surprised if Xabi Alonso, based on the fact that it's an attitude problem, would even give him a look in pre-season at the moment, because, you know, one bad egg spoils the broth, or whatever it is, isn't it? I don't know. But in terms of attitude, Kendry Paez needs to go out on a loan with a manager that knows how to deal with this kind of thing. And look, I actually said this right at the start, because from the off, even before the Strasbourg loan, Kendry Paez was kicking off because he'd supposedly been promised a spot in the Club World Cup squad, but Maresca didn't give him one. From that moment, there's been issues with Kendry Paez. We got him at the same time as Esteval Willian. He looks like a phenomenal, potentially prodigious talent, but his attitude is getting in the way of him at the moment, and getting a loan cancelled, do you know what I mean, at this point, a loan being terminated from the club side, not because we're like, oh, we want to bring him back so we can do something else with him. We'd love to have left him at River Plate. River Plate like, nah, mate, we're all right, thanks very much. So Kendry Paez, what do you sell him at this point? Do you just kind of take the hit and risk him becoming this phenom somewhere else, or do we stick with him? Do we send him out on more loans and see if we can kind of rehabilitate his attitude issues a little bit? Either way, seems to be a bit problematic at the moment, but you know, the potential's so huge that it's not easy to just pull the trigger on it. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Right, so for the last two pieces of news, we're going to get away from Chelsea and talk about some other clubs. Now, this one is kind of Chelsea related in terms of it might be something that we're going to look for. Transfer News Live posted this via El Nacional Gat. Jose Mourinho is open to the departure of Real Madrid left-back Alvaro Carreras this summer. Real Madrid manager is said to have discussed the defender with former coach Alvaro Arbeloa, who advised caution over relying on the youngster. Evidently, that's why they bought Marco Correa. Carreras' future remains uncertain, with Mourinho now understood to be encouraging an exit from the club. So Carreras, in Real Madrid's kind of difficult situation last season, did emerge as what looks like to be a decent young talent. But obviously, Jose Mourinho has come in and been like, get me Marco Correa, and he's obviously wanted to upgrade that slot instantly. Carreras, again, for me, kind of represents the same issue as Lewis Hall, but potentially not quite as talented, and definitely with no Premier League experience. So this is less of like, we haven't necessarily been linked to him yet, but just because of the left-back situation, I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen. And also with the Enzo Fernandez stuff still going on, you know, is there the potential for us to be getting linked with a couple of their players in some sort, not an actual swap deal, because they don't really do that because everyone wants the money on the books, but it could well be a case of we get a couple of players from Real Madrid and they send us Enzo Fernandez, and maybe we get a bit of money on top as well. So Carreras, the reason I brought this guy up in particular is because a couple of you guys in my comments have mentioned him before, and I hadn't actually looked into him a huge amount. So Carreras potentially being pushed out of Real Madrid. Is it a concern that Arbeloa was like, I don't think you should rely on this guy, and Jose Mourinho has come in being like, get him out? So, but you know, mainly this is a question to the guys that have mentioned him in my comments before. Let me know what you think. Is he worth taking a risk on more so than the likes of a Maxi Aruajo or a Cambiaso, for instance? And to wrap up today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about Tottenham, because look, there's one very small positive to look in here at the end of the day, the way I see it, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. Transfer News Live posted this via David Ornstein. Tottenham have made Sandro Tonali a priority target this summer and have already held positive talks with the midfielder's camp. No approach has been made to Newcastle at this stage, with any potential deal expected to be extremely difficult due to the sizable fee involved. So the main thing for me from here, Sandro Tonali, and there's been other pieces of news saying that this is the case as well, is happy to go to Tottenham. Tottenham have signed Senesi. They've bought in Andy Robertson. They're trying to get Jan-Paul van Heck and keep getting bids for 70 mil plus knocked back. They were a game away from getting relegated at the end of the season, right? So I've had a couple of you guys in my comments, for instance, I've talked about Lewis Hall a couple of times, and a few of you have come in and you've said, why would Lewis Hall come to Chelsea? And I'm like, this is why. I'm just like, why would Sandro Tonali go to Tottenham? Newcastle, okay, so Tottenham don't have Champions League, they don't have Europe. It's nothing like that at all. They've come in and De Zerbi has scraped them out of a relegation battle. And one of the Premier League's most highly touted midfielders in Sandro Tonali has had positive talks with Tottenham's camp. Now, this is from David Ornstein as well. Like, I know it's posted via Transfer News Live, but this is from David Ornstein. So you can kind of bet your bottom dollar that there's truth in this. And this is so just the two things here for me that is this is wild. How are Tottenham upgrading their team so incredibly fiercely after nearly getting relegated? Are they just going to start paying people 300k a week? Is that what it is? Like, I haven't looked into that side of it yet. I haven't seen the deal that Senesi's on. I haven't seen the deal that Andy Robertson's on. Look, I know Robertson's getting on a bit, but he's definitely an upgrade in their left back spot. Senesi, absolutely brilliant player last season. Bournemouth got into Europe and he's still gone to Tottenham. and then Tonali as well. Tonali, like, Newcastle didn't have an amazing season last year, but they still finished above Tottenham. Do you know why? Because almost everyone finished above Tottenham. Anyone who didn't get relegated finished above Tottenham last season, and they are going for the jugular in the transfer window. And supposedly, they've got something to offer Sandro Tonali. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is this is kind of the quasi-positive way of looking at this, right? If a very nearly relegated Spursy Tottenham Hotspur can have positive talks with Sandro Tonali, then surely we can get anyone. Surely we've got Xabi Alonso. We've still got some of the best players, in the world in our squad at the moment. Moises Caicedo, Reece James. We've got João Pedro. Cole Palmer could potentially come back to his best. One of the most young, amazing, prodigious talents in the world in Esteval Willian. There's, we have got a squad full of players better than Tottenham. We've got a manager, arguably, for me, Xabi Alonso's a better manager than Roberto De Zerbi. I know that he's got Premier League experience, but he hasn't gone and won something in the same way that Xabi Alonso has he? He ain't got no invincible doubles anywhere. So surely the Chelsea project looks more attractive than the Tottenham project, and Tottenham are getting Senesi. Jan Heck wants to go to Tottenham. They've got Andy Robertson, who's a Champions League and multiple time Premier League winner, and Sandro Tonali, absolutely unbelievable midfielder. Look, the money, I guess the reason we're not looking at him is because of the money side of it. And if we were gonna spend big money on a midfielder, for me, Adam Wharton would be the choice. But at the same time, he's the kind of profile maybe that Xabi Alonso would like, because he likes a deep lying distributor. So look, what's going on at Tottenham? How is this happening? And is that actually a good sign? Like, for instance, it's similar to last season with Man United, isn't it? Man United finished 15th the season before last season, and they still managed to go out and get Mbeumo, to get Cunha, and to get Benjamin Sesko. Although he didn't do particularly well last season, he was still a really hot property at the time that they got him. So for anyone that is concerned about us not being able to get the targets that we want, it's like, mate, look, the proof is in the pudding, man. Tottenham are looking at Tonali and Van Heck, who are two of the best players in the Premier League last season. Man United had already done it after finishing 15th. Just because you finish low, it doesn't mean that you're not an attractive prospect. And for me, we've still got some of the best building blocks in the Premier League to build a phenomenal squad. So guys, I'm going to wrap the video up there. I just thought that Tottenham one was a bit wild, and I'd really like to know what you think about it. So not only that, I want to know what you think about everything in today's video. Maxi Aruajo, he looks like a wicked player, man, like a really, really good player, but the discipline thing, that's a worry. 15 cards, 2 of which were reds last season. That is concerning. Maxence Lacroix at centre-back, I just think we need to go in and start making moves quick now, and Maxence Lacroix would be a statement signing that we're upgrading our defence this summer. Lewis Hall, I think, looks like a great player, and obviously what you've got at 21-year-old is the potential, but I'm just concerned about going in for another really young left-back, to be completely honest. Andreas Cambiaso, we are exploring the move. Personally, out of the two, even with the discipline stuff, I think I'd probably rather go for Araujo, because his output looks outrageous, and by the looks of it, Cambiaso's got his eyes on either Barca or staying at Italy. Marco Palestra also looks like a really good talent, but also looks like he'd like to stay in Italy. What do we do with Kendry Paez? Because no one wants him. Well, we don't know that yet. But at the end of the day, it's going to be difficult even to loan him out at this point, isn't it? After the failed Strasbourg loan and then a cancelled loan to River Plate, what are we going to do with him? Carreras from Real Madrid looks like he's getting forced out by Jose Mourinho after the signing of Marco Correa. Do you think this is the kind of player we should be going in for? And what's going on at Tottenham? And is it actually weirdly some sort of sign that when we do start to go in for our bigger targets, maybe we're going to be okay? Nice one, guys. I hope you're all having an absolutely wicked day. I'm going to spend the rest of it celebrating being 37. Oh, when did that happen? I hope you all have a lovely, lovely time, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.